Hey guys, beside me is my Yamaha 2021 MT07. And for the last 10 months, as a beginner rider, this has been my beginner bike. It's my first bike. I bought it with 0 Ks on the odometer, straight off the factory floor. And when I was looking at buying this bike, I was looking at so many different reviews out there, and a lot of them, for people who were buying an MT07 for their first bike, was either a high output one over in America, or they were recommending a Lamb's bike, but they weren't actually beginning on the bike. So they didn't, they said it was a good bike to start on, but had they started on it? No. So I thought I'd create some content to pretty much, answer the questions that I had when I first was looking for a bike as such, and also just give you a bit of a review from a beginner's perspective of what the MT07 is like, especially the 2021 model. So the 2021 model is a facelift from the previous models. It's got brand new plastics around the tank, a brand new look. We've got larger brakes, which have been inherited from the MT09 of its generation. The previous generation MT07s I have heard were really lacking in that front braking area. And so, I've got no difference. I've kind of I know no different. So to me, it's a welcome. It stops the bike. Are they a budget brake? They feel it. I've ridden a Ninja 650 and it felt a little bit more premium with the brakes there. Stopped the bike a bit better, had a bit more bite. But again, if you've ridden nothing else and you know no different, you're going to be happy with these because they'll stop the bike. Simple as that. The dash from the last generation, it was a black writing on a white background. Now they've inverted it. So we've got an LED LCD dash, which is got the black background and the actual digits, the icons, and the odometer itself. The whole lot, the tacho is illuminated. Makes it to be so much more legible. It's really clear during the day. It's really bright, really, really bright. Some say it's actually too bright for them at night. I don't mind it. I heard you can turn it down, but I've just left it stock. Speaking of LEDs, the whole bike has got LEDs now. So rear tail light indicators, and it brings me to the most controversial part of the MT07, the 2021 model, is the front headlight. Now, I love the front headlight. I think it's a cool look. Yamaha, it's really on brand for them. I think what they're doing is they're developing a bike that is future-proof. A lot of people say it looks futuristic and all as such, it looks too ahead, transformer, all as such. Yes, 100%, it looks like a transformer, but I think what they've done is they've designed a bike for 2023, 2024, even 2025. Moving to LED technology, all manufacturers are going to have smaller headlights, just due to the fact that you don't need a large reflector anymore. Be the case, we're going to see a lot of bikes following this styling, and so when it comes to 2023, 2024, the MT07 of 2021 is not going to look outdated. It's going to look on par. And I think that's really cool. So that myself, the styling of this new facelift model, I was a bit hesitant at the start, but I've really grown to like it. Now, in regards to the performance of the headlight, that's one thing I'm going to start on right here, is that I've come from a background. Previous company I worked at was a high-end LED specialist, specializing in driving lights, OEM replacement headlights, halogen replacements, work lights, the whole lot, anything to do with automotive LEDs. And so I know what the top of the market can provide, and this projector is far from it. It's a great LED projector in terms of an upgrade from the halogen globes. However, with the halogen globes from the previous generations, it's so easy to just switch out the halogen globe and put an OEM LED globe in there, and that would give you 2 to 3 times more performance. And I think that combination of the upgraded LED globe and a halogen reflector is actually probably going to be better output than this projector light, just because of the dispersion and the actual distance that you get. So I'm probably going to look at upgrading that in the future. There's nothing on the market at the moment for it that I've found. If there is, drop it down in the comments. I'd love to see it. I'd love to give it a crack, and I'll review it for sure. But I'll probably be looking to upgrade the lighting up front, just to give me more confidence when riding at night. So speaking of upgrades, straight out of the factory, off the showroom floor, I got the Akrapovic exhaust. Akra exhaust, that's what we're going to keep with. So I think it's a crime to leave this engine with the stock exhaust. The CP2 engine provides such an amazing sound, and straight away I had to get the Akra exhaust on it. This has obviously got the baffle removed, and I love it. It's the raw sound of the CP2 engine, and it's phenomenal. Before we jump on the road, I'll give you a little bit of a soundbite, a little bit of demo of what that sounds like. I won't be putting the bloody camera right down the exhaust like every other person does on the internet. I'm going to set it back and I'll give you a proper sound of what it sounds like about a meter away. And then the final thing I've just done for this bike is a little tailbag. So I was commuting to work and I just needed something to carry, you know, lunch, whatever. I didn't want to carry a backpack. So I got a tailbag. This is the Oxford T5s. Very expensive, but it suits the geometry of the back and I like it. So it doesn't look too much of an eyesore. Most tailbags do. It's not a compliment to the bike, but it's certainly not an eyesore. But yeah, let's hear that exhaust sound and then we'll jump on the road. So now we're out here on the road and you guys just heard pretty much one of the biggest things that convinced me to buy the MT07, and that's the exhaust. You know, I love the sound of this exhaust. You know, coming from the CP2 engine, it's a phenomenal sound. That 270-degree crossplane allows for that symphony to come out. Really nice, deep, raw sound coming out of this bike. And I think that's such a cool thing because, you know, for a learner bike, we still have access to something that's still is impressive, that, you know, it doesn't make me want to upgrade. You know, like nothing worse with cars is that when you start with a, you know, lower horsepower car or lower displacement car, 9 times out of 10 you're always wanting that V8 sound or, you know, the better sound or the turbo sound. But, you know, first bike and you already have access to such a great sounding bike, and I think that's just really cool. You know, I think that's just so cool. So I bought this bike pretty much to commute to work. It was 20-minute drive to work, I'd say. And you know, I just really wanted to ride to work every day. I don't know what it was about me. You know, most people want to get bikes for the weekend. For me, my first initial inspiration was, nah, let's ride to work every day. Like, you know, it's zip between traffic, and in Australia we can do that once you're off your L's, that is. But you know, that was my goal, is just to enjoy the ride to work. And I tell you now, it was probably one of the best investments, because when I was riding to work, there wasn't a single day that I walked in that door after riding that I wasn't smiling, grinning ear to ear, and having just a great start to the day. You know, like, you don't even need coffee at that point, and that's saying something. So, you know, riding to work, that was a great investment. And you know, this bike in traffic, as you can see now, you know, it is just so nimble. It is just so light and nimble. And, you know, you just feel quite confident in traffic. You know, starting as a beginner, I didn't have any experience before this. I wasn't on dirt bikes like a lot of people. A lot of people come from dirt bikes, come to the road, and they're like, oh wow, we have traction. And to them, it's easier. It's second nature. For me, I went from 4 wheels to 2 wheels, you know, penguin walking everywhere, and really, really not confident on a bike. You know, people said to me, if you can ride a bicycle when you're younger, you can ride a motorbike. Well, I'll tell you now, I couldn't ride a bicycle for shit. You know, for me, I really struggled in that department, and you know, I was really worried that with bike I'd also struggle as well. Oh, I just went the wrong way. Come on, Kurt. We'll call this a shortcut. But here's an example of that real peppy engine. I'm going really quite slow right now with my indicator on, apparently. And we're in second gear, and there's no chance of stalling it, because this engine is just so torquey. Can I get to the back end of the... can I get around the back? I think so. Yeah, this engine is just so torquey. And as you can see right now, I'm moving through a car park. It is so simple. It really fills me with confidence, because I don't feel like it's a light bike. So it's really quite light. I don't feel like I'm going to drop it. I can really just go at whatever pace I want. The only thing, I guess, that will kind of get to you at the start is just how torquey this engine is. You know, you're going to really behave with that throttle, and that comes down to that, you know, respect for the bike. It is a 600cc bike. It is a torquey engine. You have to respect the bike. You have to respect the throttle. As I'll tell you now, it will buck you off. But, you know, that was one thing that I really loved about this bike, is just how confidence inspiring it was as my first bike. You know, jumping onto it, I didn't feel the threat of low speed maneuvering or falling over or anything like that. Like, I'm sitting here now. Now, I'm 6'3", and oh, see, I'm going to back it up right now. Just let this guy through. I know that this bike is 104, 105 centimeters for the seat height, which is 32 inch or so inseam. And so for me, I can stand on this super easy, because I think I've got like a 33 inch inseam, 840 something or other. I don't know what it is. Again, I'll put it up on the screen. And I can stand on this super easy, flat foot. When I'm sitting on it, I bend my knee. But the riding position on this bike is quite upright. You know, right now, I'm just sitting. I'm comfortable. I'm chill. If I get stuck in traffic, I just relax. You know, that's one thing I really loved about this bike, is that you're not committed, like a super sports bike, that, you know, you're not committed to that aggressive riding position where, you know, if you're stuck in traffic, you're going to have a sore back. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to be having fun. There was a couple of days where I got, you know, stuck in traffic. There was an accident ahead. I was on the bike, just idling along, on and off the clutch at 5 kilometers an hour, just bumper to bumper. And to me, it wasn't too uncomfortable. The heat was uncomfortable, but that's what you get on any bike. But this bike itself was just, it was chill. You know, I'm just sitting here. It's just such a relaxed riding position. And then I guess onto the next thing is how light the suspension is at the front end. It's quite soft. It's very springy, and again, it allows for a real sense of playfulness. It is a budget suspension, and to me, I didn't really notice anything about it being budget when I was commuting to work, when I was in and amongst traffic. But I tell you now, as soon as I got out into the twisties on the weekends, that's when I started to feel the suspension kind of let you down in a way where, for your first beginner bike, you want to feel confidence with what the bike is going to do, and you want to be able to push your skills and abilities. And because this suspension is so soft, when you're in a corner, if you go over a bump or an uneven spot in the road, the front will really take a lot of that. And what happens is the geometry of the bike will change as the suspension shifts, and because the front's bouncing all over the place, it means it changes your angle and it changes your line in a corner, and that can really, it upsets the bike, and that can be really scary. You know, it can really take away that confidence when you're mid-corner and you hit that bump. And as a learner, I'd say there are other bikes out there that do have better suspension if you want to tackle the twisties as more of a priority for your riding. And this bike is still more than capable of it. Oh my gosh, I've seen so many guys, even learners in the twisties, dropping knee on this bike, and I'm like, God, you know, what have you done? What, you know, cartridge forks, what have you done to the suspension? And they're like, nah, it's stock. And I'm like, wow, you know, like, just really goes to show that I have so much more to learn on this bike. And yeah, full disclaimer, I'm a pure beginner. You know, I don't know how to get a crazy lean angle. I don't know really what I'm doing. I mean, if you guys see me doing something right or wrong, let me know down in the comments section, because I'm all about that feedback of learning. You know, that's the beauty of this bike, is that I am learning on it from ground one, from scratch, from never ridden on two wheels really. So, you know, that's another thing to consider, is that if you are someone that's not really going to look at commuting, that is more of a spirited rider, and you want to jump on a bike, and especially if you've been on, you know, dirt bikes and anything like that, and you just want to go fast through corners, and you want to feel that full confidence, there are other bikes out there that have a better suspension package from the get-go. Now, the beauty of the MT07 though is that because it's such a popular bike, it's really documented. There's a lot of people out there that have got the same problem, and so, you know, there's a lot of fixes out there, a lot of people that have created modifications for this bike, and a lot of people that have created just mods that you can do with the stock system and changing the oil. So that's probably something I'll be doing, you know, coming up in the future, is upgrading the suspension. I'd really love to see if that's going to give me a lot more confidence in the corners. So down to the question, 300cc versus 600cc. Now, I had a couple of choices in mind when I was looking at my first bike. I was looking at the Duke 390 and the MT07. And I was
I was tossing up between the two, and obviously I got the MT07. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. But a lot of people at the time were telling me that you'll become a better rider quicker on a slower bike. And that really was never properly explained to me. And so I kind of just blew it off. I was like, I know what you mean, you know, like I'm a confident guy. I like steep learning curves. Give me the big, powerful bike. But now I really get that. I really understand it, because you see, with more power exaggerates more problems when you do get into issues, right? So what do I mean by that? Because that was probably really confusing. If you're on a 300cc bike, you go around a corner and you accidentally blip the throttle, probably not much is going to happen. You know, you're really not going to get much of a bite out of the bike, especially depending on what rev range you're in, and what gear you're in, but you're not going to have as big of problems. Now, they're a lot lighter, they're a lot more forgiving, and if you're a lighter rider, you're probably going to ride them a lot quicker than something that's a little bit bigger like this. Now, why is that? Well, it's a heavier bike. You've got a little bit more weight underneath you. You've got a larger back tire, which means that your cornering is not as easy. You're not going to tip the bike in as easy as something with a smaller tire. And you have a bit more power. So, you know, if you're down low, when you accidentally hit it, you got a lot of bucking coming from that acceleration. And if I could go back, what would I do? I'd probably still stick to the MT07. But I just want to put it out there as a bit of a word of warning and a little bit more of an explanation, because just be aware, on this bike, you will have a steeper learning curve. And if you're someone that's really keen for that, you want to put in a lot of time and effort and hours to craft your skill, and you're really quite resilient, I'd go for the MT07, because it is a lot of fun when you do get it right, and when you are learning and when you can push the bike, it is a lot of fun. Again, for those who have got better riding experience from dirt bikes, you'll probably feel at home with this bike. You know, it'll be second nature to you. For flat out beginners, just know there is a steeper learning curve with an MT07. Now, in regards to power, we do have a lot of power at hand. As I said, this is a LAMS approved version, which is 650cc instead of the 689. What that means is we've got a throttle restrictor, we've got intakes that are slightly smaller diameter, letting less air into the engine, and there's a different map on the ECU. So a couple of different things, mechanical and ECU, tuned to pretty much de-restrict this bike. That, to me, would be a downside that I never considered, because if you did want to de-restrict this, be a bit cheeky. In Australia, if you are in an accident and you've de-restricted the bike, you're now classing that bike as unroadworthy for someone who is on their LAMS license or learner's license. Now, that to me is pretty risky, because if I get into a crash, whether it's my fault or their fault, $12,000 bike, it's out the window if they find out that I've, you know, fiddled with the bike or altered the bike or increased the performance, or de-restricted it, that is. Whereas something like the Ninja 650L, you've got a relay that you change out, that's it. The Street Triple S, you plug your phone in, do an ECU tune, pretty much that's it. Those two bikes, it's pure software, which means that the likelihood of you getting caught with de-restricting it and, you know, not being covered by insurance is pretty slim, but it's not none. You know, I will say that. It's not none, but it is pretty slim. So there is that factor. If you're looking to de-restrict the bike straight off the go, just bear that in mind. So they're the only two real cons that I've got with this bike, is the suspension, which I'm really keen to upgrade and mess around with. I guess the headlight is probably another thing, coming from someone that, you know, I know high-end LEDs and high-end projectors, and I know what they're capable of, and I know that this doesn't deliver the same level as what I've, you know, dealt with previously. So again, being nitpicky, and then obviously the restriction part. So apart from those three things, this bike is absolutely phenomenal. And would I recommend it? 1000%. Now I'm just cruising around at the moment, so you know we're in 5th gear, just cruising at 80k's. Well, the sun sets on a nice Thursday night, and you know I think this bike is more than capable for every single road that you want to go on, except off-road. You know, the beauty of this is that you're not committed. Whoa, that's a yucky part of the road. You're not committed to any specific riding style, environment, or road. You are literally unlocking everything. You can go wherever you want. You can cruise around town. You can commute. You jump on the freeway. You can go around the twisties. You can really do whatever you want. You start on this bike. It's got more than enough power to get you through traffic and never feel like you're falling behind. You can merge easy. The brakes are great for what they are. They stop the bike. Again, as a learner, you're not going to know much difference. And honestly, if it's your first bike and only bike, you're really not going to know any of the flaws that I've talked about today, because that's how much of a good bike it is. And unless you've got a little bit more mechanical experience and you've ridden other bikes, this is the perfect bike for a learner that wants to start on something that's got a steeper learning curve and that you can grow into. So yeah, guys, that pretty much concludes my initial review as a beginner. As I said, being a beginner, I'm creating these videos really just to document this process, to give knowledge to those who were once in my position 10 months ago, where I was trying to find this type of knowledge, this type of review, this type of opinions, I guess. Yeah, I mean, take it on board, or leave your comment down below and let me know if you agree or disagree with what I've said today, or if you've got a better experience, or maybe if you saw something I was doing that I shouldn't be doing, whatever it may be, you know, drop it down in the comment section below. I'm really keen to hear it all. I will be doing more videos as a beginner, document this process, so if you do like it, I know this is my first video, but you know, drop a like, subscribe, watch out for the next one. I might do a review on possibly my partner's bike next, which is a MT03. You know, it's a phenomenal bike. But yeah, if you guys are keen for that, again, drop a comment, let me know. In the meantime, stay safe out on the road, look after yourselves, and I'll catch you in the next one.